Why, hello, everybody. It's Wes, Hank, and Andy, and we are back with what I would think is a very special edition of our Road to Ahsoka review series. And I say special because
there's a bonus stop on the road.
I think it's safe to say by now that if you haven't seen the full length and final Ahsoka trailer that came out this week, you'll want to hang around because we're only covering a single episode of Star Wars Rebels tonight, which leaves lots of time for us to do a full spoilery deep dive theorizing look at the trailer. As I said earlier on social media, spared no detail on this one.
Spared no expense. And
I'm pretty sure I didn't miss anything between the messages and the notes between the three of us.
I would be shocked if you missed anything.
I think I've got some stuff that I don't think anybody else is reporting. So I'm excited to go and do this one tonight. So
I think as long as you just don't focus on her butt, you'll be good.
Yeah. The number of outlets that have just I wouldn't even say outlets, I would just say individuals who have posted that screenshot, and they're like, Sabine, huh?
Yep. There's more to it than that.
Yeah, of course there is. We were just talking before we went to air tonight, and I just want to put a special hello out there to all of you who follow the show on the audio side of things. Thank you for hanging out with us. I guess it's been a while since I had a look over at our metrics, but Andy, as you say, we're doing about
good.
300 a week, you said?
Around that, yeah.
So that's very encouraging, and I'm so glad that even though we have moved on to a video, that there's still enough there for all the audio folks to still hang on. Of course, I think audio is probably the easiest way to take us on the road if you're traveling.
It's the legal way to take us on the road.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
You're not supposed to be watching anything.
Yeah, that's true. That's so true. Yeah.
Unless you're in one of those Teslas.
Oh, yeah. Then you can have a nap and do it. No, don't do that.
That's right.
I mean, even though it has happened.
Yes.
Anyway.
Other things.
It is the Road to Ahsoka. It's part 8. As I said, it's just a single episode of Star Wars Rebels tonight. But before we get to that, we should probably open up the vault one more time as we dip in for another bad Star Wars jokes. All right, this one I'm shooting from the hip there, guys.
Just like Cad Bane.
All right. 2 Trandoshans walk into a restaurant and they're having a meal. One says to the other, "How's your steak?" He says, "Mine's fine. What about yours?" He says, "That's a little chewy."
If you don't know, now you know.
Yeah, exactly. It only works because it's 2 Trandoshans.
Well, yeah, because we all know who they hate.
I suppose it would work with any Star Wars species, really. I mean, Wookiee steaks being chewy.
True.
I'm sorry, it was so bad. I'm going to take a back seat for now because I worked on the trailer all this week. Andy, you worked on the episode review for tonight. So let's hand the con over to you, sir. And
so, as far as essential episodes, this one is pretty essential.
Yeah.
As far as her character development, she comes to a conclusion and,
yeah.
and an acceptance of sorts.
Yes.
So switch that over.
Oh, switch it to you. Oh, yeah.
There we go.
That's a better looking layout.
So the Road to Ahsoka. This one tonight is Star Wars Rebels, Season 2, Episode 18, Shroud of Darkness. Directed by Saul Ruiz and written by Henry Gilroy. It originally aired March 12th, 2016. And the synopsis for tonight's episode reads, Kanan, Ezra, and Ahsoka seek answers in the Jedi Temple.
I know it's been a while since we've rewatched all these episodes, but I see 2016 and I go, was it really that long ago?
Apparently. Doesn't feel like that long ago.
Not really. I mean, I watched it in the broadcast run, so I was quite invested. I don't remember it. Maybe it's just I'm that old and it just, years kind of all
time dilation.
Yeah, really.
I'm still working through it, but I remember it being there.
Yeah, well, now's is a good time to do it because as more and more people are finding out, Star Wars Rebels is almost essential. Like it's almost like required reading to get ready for
Plus, it's
for
just
what's
good.
coming. Yeah. It's really good.
What I've
It's
seen
so
is awesome.
good. Yeah.
But once again, this episode, we open mid-battle, and Kanan and Ezra are engaging the Inquisitors, the fifth brother and the seventh sister, who have caught up with them on Ocelon. And they're in search of a new base, but this place will not work, seeing as they've been followed yet again.
Point out the fifth brother here. This is the same character that shows up in the Kenobi live action series, which is funny because
He changes up a little
in
bit.
Kenobi, he's very much played by an Asian actor. In Rebels, he's very much got a Spanish accent.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny going back and wait, what did he just say?
Is that supposed to be
Yeah,
from
from
Fast?
Fast. Yeah, not Han Solo.
No.
Han from the Fast and Furious.
Different franchise.
That's right. Yeah.
Anyway, after a well-placed force push, the fifth brother launches Ezra over the edge, but he's caught by Kanan. And the Inquisitors look on, pleased with their current advantage of the situation. We cut to the title card, and then we're right back into it. And the Inquisitors begin to advance. Kanan calls for Ezra to get back up, but Ezra is busy reaching out with the Force. And after a slight adjustment, Kanan calls for Ezra to come up in 3, which he does, and they're both back up fighting. But Ezra tells Kanan, he got them a ride.
Got us a ride, yeah.
And they have to jump. So they make for the cliff edge and leap into the abyss. Kanan a little bit hesitant, but they land on the back of a manta ray-like Tibidi.
Which I'm going to point out here, if you've never seen this thing before, it looks like a manta ray, but the head on that thing, is it not toothless?
Yeah, a little
You
bit.
get a little toothless in that from How to Train Your Dragon?
Maybe, yeah.
I think it's cute. I like it.
Yeah. He's not, obviously, he's not identified in the descriptive audio.
No.
You got to go digging for that one.
Well,
But-
yeah.
Anyway, Kanan, he asks, is this Ezra's doing? And he says, yeah, do you like it?
Powerful. Just like barely any training yet.
We mentioned this last week though about this force taming animals, and like I said, pretty much every animal that Ezra has ever come in contact with, he's got this affinity for them. So no surprise that that this happens.
Yeah, catch a ride just when you need it.
Yeah.
Leaving the Inquisitors behind, Chopper flies the Phantom in for a pickup, and the two Jedi leap aboard. And soon they leave the planet and jump into hyperspace. Ezra remarks how that was a close one, and Kanan is upset at the amount of close ones that they're having, and he notes that they need advice. Before long, they pop out of hyperspace and dock with the Ghost, and once aboard, Hera asks why they asked to meet out here, away from the fleet, and Kanan tells her it's safer, because obviously he's thinking they're tracking just them. But elsewhere, Ezra enters a room where Ahsoka is listening to a hologram of Anakin on lightsaber techniques. And Ezra remarks how amazing Anakin's technique is and how he studied these holograms to help improve himself. And Ahsoka opens her eyes and tells Ezra, you should have seen him in person.
Oh yeah. The uniform he's wearing in this scene, I don't recall ever seeing that before. It's a very different look for him.
It's a very Luke-ish look.
With, with a traditional Jedi.
It's like Han Solo's Bespin kind of gear.
Almost, except for the giant Jedi logo on the front side of it.
Maybe they had like specific filming logos because it really is a training video.
Yeah, maybe.
This is going to be preserved forever, so look your best.
Jedi on mail away VHS.
I have to go back through some Ralph McQuarrie stuff and see if there's any.
I'd be interested to see if this. And I know that Hasbro / Kenner is famous for churning out action figures of this. Be interested to see if this version of Anakin got an action figure, because I don't think it did.
Not any
Jedi
of the Rebel stuff that I have. The 5 POA Rebel stuff didn't have.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I didn't think so. And that wave was, well, that was a while ago, man. That was a long while ago.
And they went deep too, like they, Kanan with in Stormtrooper uniform with the cauldron.
Yeah.
And that was from our last arc that we covered.
That's right. Yeah.
But here, Ahsoka continues to tell Ezra that he was her master. And Ezra notes that Kanan said Skywalker was the greatest warrior that the Jedi had in the Clone Wars. And Ahsoka continues that he was powerful, rarely lost a battle. But what would surprise people was how kind he was and how he cared deeply about his friends and looked out for them until the end.
Except for everybody that he threatened. Tell me now.
And
Yeah.
the kids.
She's going from a certain point of view here.
Yeah.
Ezra asks if she knows what happened to him, and she kind of lies here. She tells him that the last time she saw him, he was rushing off to save the Chancellor, and then everything changed, which is technically not a lie,
No, that's true. It's absolutely true.
but based on what she felt in the last time,
Well, this is it. We talked about
but
this.
she
like,
would not accept it.
up until Vader's return, each of them think the other is dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that to her,
And
that
even
is
though
the last time.
she's brushed minds with him at this point, she's
Yeah.
completely
Yeah.
in denial still.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's not, there's no surface like thought about it. She's completely in denial. She's she's tortured about it. That's why she's
This where she's
I don't
gonna
think
go
she
this
even
evening.
realizes why she's watching videos of Anakin.
Yeah, really.
But she continues on that the war ended and the Jedi were accused of treason, and one by one they were hunted down. And Ezra posits that was it the Inquisitors who did the hunting, but Ahsoka just adds, or worse.
Or worse. Yeah, it's worse. It's way worse.
Just then, Kanan enters and asks Ahsoka what she thinks of them doing the hunting for a change. And Ahsoka notes that every time they eliminate an Inquisitor, 2 more pop up to take its place. And what if they just make their problems worse? But Kanan says they have to do something because they can't keep the Bear people safe from Vader and the Inquisitors if they're always trying to keep themselves safe. And Ahsoka notes that in times like this, she would turn to Obi-Wan or Yoda, as they would always have the answer. Well, almost always. And Kanan suggests, well, maybe they should ask him for advice then. In the cockpit of the Ghost, Sabine asks Hera where Kanan, Ezra, and Ahsoka are heading now. But as the Phantom flies ahead of the Ghost and jumps to hyperspace, Hera says sometimes it's better not to know. Then we catch up with Ezra and Ahsoka as they join Kanan in the cockpit, and they come out of hyperspace over a green and blue planet descending towards the surface. And as the ship lands, you can see tall, conical, rock-like structures that are visible in the background.
Yeah.
So it's not just one, but like multiple.
It's the Shankara stones plus.
Yeah. As they exit the ship, Ahsoka asks Ezra if he is from Lothal, which he tells her, yeah, I am from here. This is home. And shortly they arrive at a circle carved in the ground, and Ezra suggests that if Ahsoka and Kanan stand there combined, they can open the temple with the Force. But Ahsoka says she can't because she's no longer a Jedi.
She doesn't actually say that she can't. She says, I think it's better if you two do it.
No, she says she can't because she's not a Jedi.
Does she actually say?
She does. And then Ezra kind of gives her the look like, what?
Yeah.
And she's like, no, it was my choice, but it would be best if you and Kanan open.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So the two take their place and begin.
Do we actually think that's true, though? Do you actually think that she would not have the, like, if she and one of them did it, that it would not open for them?
Oh,
I don't think it's about ability.
I don't think
It's
so
about
either.
it's about
It's
her right.
Yeah, it's her not identifying as a Jedi at this point.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Like,
In her mind, she doesn't have the right to do that anymore.
That's fair. I buy that one for sure.
yeah. The two take their place and begin to lift the temple as it spirals out of the ground. And Ezra opens his eyes and sees the regular door appear, but the temple continues to rise.
We saw a lot of this. I mentioned last week. We saw a lot of this similarities in the first Jedi Fallen Order, the first Cal Kestis game, where all of the little spires they screwed up out of the ground, very much like this.
But as it continues to rise, a tall door emerges and it finally finishes rising. And Ezra notes, this is new, but Kanan remarks, new problem, new door. The three then make their way inside and down a staircase into a circular room, and behind them, the door slides shut. Ahsoka asks Kanan how he contacted Yoda before, but he admits that Yoda contacted him. And Ezra chimes in that he thought he was dreaming when Yoda first contacted him, and Kanan recalls he was meditating. So they figure that's their best option. And
That's a good place to start.
yeah, they take up position in the middle of the room and they begin. After a little while, a doorway of bright light appears only to Kanan, and he ventures through it. And as he disappears, Ezra asks where he went, but Ahsoka reminds him that these temples can be tricky. Inside the room, Kanan enters something akin to like a training dojo.
Yeah, it looks that way.
Yeah, almost like from the Matrix with Neo.
Oh yeah, very much.
And across the room, a temple guard is kneeling at the other end. And Kanan tells the guard he seeks knowledge, how to defeat Vader and the Inquisitors. But the guard tells him if he fights, he will lose. The rebellion will lose, and Ezra will fall to the dark side. But defiantly, Kanan tells him he won't let that happen. And they begin to duel. Outside, Chopper is scanning the skies, and he's alarmed by something, so he flies into the droid socket of the Phantom and takes the ship off-world. Shortly thereafter, 2 TIE fighters appear and land near the temple, and the fifth brother is in one, the seventh sister in the other. The fifth brother kneels down, and he examines the soil, and he assumes that the rebels have already left, and he kind of mocks her. He's like, "You're wrong, they're already gone."
Yeah.
But she holds fast, and she's like, "Nope, they're still here." And she deploys a little scanning droid, and it goes up and scans around the giant spire, and it feeds data back showing a hologram of the concealed temple. Inside, Ahsoka and Ezra continue to sit there, and Ezra asks her if she knew Yoda, and she tells him, yes, Yoda trained all the younglings at the temple at one point or another. And Ezra relays that Kanan described him as a small, green, and wrinkly with pointy ears, but he didn't know what he was really like.
That's a fair description, too.
Yeah. Ahsoka tells him she's not sure anyone did. And she goes on that he was wise, kind, but when she was young, he seemed happier.
That's an interesting line that she makes. That she makes a distinction that she recognized that Yoda was bearing a burden that was maybe unspoken.
Yeah. And she continues that as the Clone War dragged on, he carried a great burden, a deep sorrow, as if he knew before anyone else that one time was ending and another beginning. But as she opens her eyes and looks towards Ezra, he has vanished. And elsewhere, Ezra opens his eyes, and he's kneeling in a circle of light among the stars, and remarks how he knows this place. And he turns to find Master Yoda. Ezra tells him that last time he could only hear him, but Yoda cites that his abilities are growing, and so with them, danger.
Oh, yeah.
We cut back to Kanan, where he continues his duel with the temple guards, who tells him he will never be strong enough to save his pupil. But Kanan doesn't back down, grabbing a second red lightsaber from the wall. But as he does that, 2 more temple guards appear, and they continue. Then we shift again back, and alone in the temple, Ahsoka kneels with her eyes closed, where suddenly she hears the voice of Anakin. She opens her eyes and looks around, but sees nothing. So she closes her eyes again and hears him again, this time asking why she left him. And behind her, a specter of Anakin appears. It asks, "Where were you when I needed you?" And she utters, "I made a choice. I couldn't stay." And then the specter tells her that she was selfish. And she cries, "No." Then louder it tells her, "You abandoned me. You failed me." It then asks, "Do you know what I've become?" And as we shift the camera again, it shifted to Darth Vader.
You feel like that's her own guilt coming through?
Absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's that buried stuff that her
she
dissociating with the truth. That's it coming. It's bubbling to the surface.
Yeah. I kind of wonder if that plays into some of the stuff, like some of the emotional beats that we saw. We're going to get to it in the Ahsoka trailer, but the whole abandonment. She even says, I walked away from Anakin the way that I walked away from Sabine.
Yeah. This is super similar to the way that Obi-Wan touches minds with Anakin in the new show.
Yeah.
It's really similar to they're both in complete denial.
Yeah.
It's going to come out one way or the other.
Yeah. And right here it bubbles over because Ahsoka basically screams no. And shedding a tear, she lights her lightsaber and spins around, but she's alone. And with tears streaming down her face, she deactivates her lightsaber and falls on her hands and knees. She can no longer deny what she felt and now knows for sure Anakin is alive and he is Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Elsewhere, Ezra questions Yoda if there's a way to destroy Vader and the Inquisitors, but Yoda instead gives Ezra a brief history lesson and tells him that the Jedi were consumed by the dark side. And Ezra asks if it's wrong to fight to protect his friends. And Yoda reveals that even he was afraid during the Clone Wars when they rushed to fight.
Yeah.
And that the lifelong challenge is to not let that fear bend into anger. But suddenly dust starts falling around Ezra and he questions what's happening. But Yoda tells him, "Found you, the enemy has."
Oh, well done.
Outside, we see that the Inquisitors are using the Force to open the temple. And then we cut back inside with Kanan.
Well, that answers that. I mean, it's definitely not a case of ability if two Darksiders can
they're just using
rend their
for
way
sure.
in. Did you get the impression that they were working harder though?
Yeah, because when Kanan and Ezra did it, it didn't seem like the ground lit up.
Yeah,
but when the Inquisitors did, all the circles in the ground were like glowing red.
Yeah, like they really put some effort, like
and it took them
open.
longer to get it open.
Yeah.
But back inside with Kanan, he continues to battle the three guards, and he's knocked down again, and the room shakes. The guard tells them even now the dark side is coming for Ezra. And finally relenting, Kanan accepts that he can't protect Ezra forever. He can just train him to the best of his abilities and hope for the best. At this point, though, the temple guard raises his blade in what looks like to be a striking position, but instead he knights Kanan. And when Kanan asks what this means, the guard removes his helmet. It's the Grand Inquisitor. And he tells Kanan that this means he is now what the Inquisitor once was, a knight of the Jedi Order. The Inquisitor tells Kanan to go as the temple is falling, but he will delay the enemy, and Kanan rushes through the door of light. Back in the chamber, dust begins to fall around Ahsoka as the room shakes, and she stands and looks around, finding a doorway, and she says, "There's still a way," and rushes through the opening. Now, do we think this means she's figured out there is still a way to save him?
I don't know. Maybe. Or at least she thinks there's still a way. I don't know if that gives her insight to like the kids.
Maybe.
That's the old Ahsoka. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. That's her theme. She's like hope embodied.
Yeah, of course.
Right. So
I want to talk a bit about this whole experience here inside this structure.
Mm-hmm.
Is this akin to the cave on Dagobah? Like this is
I would think so.
Some form of Force like nexus point. Do we think the Grand Inquisitor is physically there, or that's just a manifestation of
his spirit?
Yeah,
I believe it's a manifestation of his spirit.
Yeah,
but with like full control of what he's making Kanan see.
By that logic, we're calling that Yoda as well. That's not Yoda projecting himself from Dagobah.
No.
It could be.
That one might be that actually, but I think this is the Force manifesting the visions. Like,
yeah,
that Inquisitor is as real as Vader was in the Dagobah cave.
Right.
So
that makes sense to me.
That don't ask me how they managed to stop two Inquisitors then.
Well, this is it. Like,
is that part coming up?
Because he does he makes a point to tell him. Yeah,
I'll delay them. Yeah.
Right. So
but that may be. I think two things are happening with that scene between Yoda and Ezra, and I think so. Ezra, there's a thing here that in Rebels, no other Jedi has this, or we don't actually explore it at all. Maybe the closest thing is Vader once he's turned and his connection to Mustafar.
Yeah.
But in terms of it being a source of his pain, not anything.
Right.
But Ezra is the only Jedi that is inexorably linked to a planet. Like being on Lothal enhances his abilities.
Right.
He has a connection to this planet, and this planet, for whatever reason, like we see the dark side in the Legends, it was Korriban. Now it's Moraband. I think.
Right.
The Sith homeworld, or like Octu. They talk about that in the Last Jedi novel. I think like these planets that are like almost living Force beings, and every once in a while they like the Force burps out a Guardian, and that's exactly what Ezra Bridger is.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And he's so when he's on Lothal, he's like exponentially
tapped in.
Yeah.
Right. It's like that's why he can communicate with the wolves and the Loth cats and So what's happening there is I think somewhere in the middle between Yoda actually projecting himself, because he's sitting on a tuft of grass and stuff in the
yeah.
He's got Dagobah elements around him, but you see him, Ezra, sitting in a disc of light, and I'm like, that's
very much.
Yeah, he's stepping without help, without a nexus point, without a painting that is designed to be a door. He's stepping into the world between worlds without knowing it.
Yep.
And Yoda's meeting him halfway.
That's interesting.
That's crazy powerful.
It's very cool. It's very, very cool.
So, are we calling this the World Between Worlds then?
That's what I would.
It's
Yes,
certainly
that's what I
connected.
call it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll rewrite my my thing because I just called it the astral space.
That works too, though.
But in the astral space, Ezra
Yeah.
asks how they're supposed to win if they can't fight. But Yoda repeats with the question, "Win?" And he giggles. How Jedi choose to win, the question is. And Ezra tells them that they've already chosen and they're going to fight. And Yoda sighs and tells Ezra, "Find Malachor." And Ezra questions, "Who is Malachor?"
Yeah.
But Yoda is gone. And Ezra finds himself back in the temple and runs down a corridor.
It's so non-cryptic of him too, right?
Yeah.
Like he's not the crazy hermit Yoda. He's
No.
like, go here.
Yeah.
It's Obi-Wan to Luke. Find Yoda. You must go to the Dagobah system.
Yeah. Well, he's a little cryptic though, because he doesn't say, go find Malachor, the person.
Sure.
He's just like, find Malachor. Outside, though, the temple finally comes to a stop, and the Inquisitors make their way in. But Ahsoka and the two Jedi end up meeting each other in a connected chamber. And Ezra, he's all excited to tell them what he's learned, but Kanan tells him to save it for later, and the three make their exit. Inside the chamber, the two Inquisitors enter the circle, and the door slams behind them. And from the shadows, the Grand Inquisitor ignites his blade. This catches them off guard, and more temple guards appear around them. And from the aerial view, we see they are surrounded.
It's quite a few of them, yeah.
And as the guards close in, it comes down to a blinding light from their sabers, and it fills the chamber as the Inquisitors disappear at the center of it. In the tunnels, the rebels run on, but something stops Ahsoka. And them disappearing in the light, what exactly happened to them?
Yeah, I don't know.
Again, knocked out for a minute?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe it was a sensory overload, for them. Like
maybe.
I just had a little good night.
Yeah.
Like a little nap or something. I don't know.
But Ahsoka, she turns and looks behind her, and she spots Yoda, who waves.
Yeah.
She smiles and nods before continuing on. And then the rebels exit the temple just as Chopper flies by, and Kanan waves him down. Chopper lands the ship and tells them that Imperial ships are coming. So they climb aboard, and Chopper pilots the craft skyward. Aboard the ship, as they catch their breath, Ezra tells them he saw Yoda. And when Kanan asks what he said, Ezra tells them Yoda said to find Malachor. And again, he asks, who's Malachor? But Ahsoka tells them Malachor is a place, not a person. Back at the temple, Imperial ships circle and shine bright spotlights down on the ground below. And Darth Vader, led by two stormtroopers, enters the temple. Inside, the Inquisitors turn to face the Dark Lord, and Vader relays that the Emperor will be most pleased with this discovery. The fifth brother tells them that the Jedi are growing in their power, but Vader tells them it will be their undoing. And we iris to black.
So good.
Yeah, it's really good. This is like where it starts to get like really good.
Yeah. When they start playing with the Force in ways that we never expected.
Yeah. No, it's exactly what it is. So that is
Shroud of Darkness.
That is the Shroud of Darkness. We've got 2 more episodes of Rebels that are coming up next weekend, and then we dip into the last
Mandalorian,
the last 2 which are live action. Yeah. Now, if you came for the back half of the show, get ready, because as I said earlier, we got the new trailer for Ahsoka dropped earlier this week, and it's been kind of the talk of the town everywhere I've been. Anyway, I know we've had a few conversations around it.
1 or 2.
Yeah. What did you see? What didn't you see? Is this what I think it is? I don't know. Yeah.
Is that an F&E wing?
Why, yes, it is.
That should be a t-shirt.
Once I got through the trailer the first couple of times, and I went back and rewatched it and rewatched it, and 4, 5, 6 times later, I kind of came up with this idea that there's a lot going on here that probably sparks some conversation about what we think might be going on. So presumably everybody who's participating in the show tonight, audience wise, has seen the trailer. I want to ask you guys, do you have any theories that you want to divulge before we get into the breakdown?
I do not.
You got nothing.
I got, well, nothing that would make any sense because I'm still
learning.
Still learning.
That's fair. That's fair. I'll ask you, Hank. What do you think? You got any theories about?
Yeah, I got a file on my phone.
Oh, you made notes. It's got to find your notes. I can go first then. I've got one.
Yeah, go first.
And this isn't a deep theory or nothing. But it does make sense, at least in my mind. I'm going to lead with Ezra Bridger is dead. Ezra Bridger is dead. The trailer at some point they want us to think, at least superficially, if you look at it just on the surface level, they want us to believe that at some point Ahsoka started to train Sabine as a Jedi. But I don't think that's actually what's going on. I think there's that friction, there's that line, and I think that's the big line. That's the thing that I'm most interested in, is what caused the friction between these two characters. Ahsoka says on the nose, I walked away from her. What made her walk away? The last time we saw them was at the end of Rebels, in the epilogue, going off to bring Ezra home. Sabine says, and I knew what to do. It was time to bring him home. So I'm kind of the opinion that maybe that mission already did happen, and maybe they did find him, and it was Ezra that maybe started training Sabine as a Jedi. Subsequently, Ezra gets killed. Ahsoka can't handle it for whatever reason, and then they have a falling out and they go their own ways. So and that's about as far as it goes.
I'm going to torpedo that, and I'm really sorry.
Sure.
That epilogue from Rebels is the biggest misdirect that we're going to see, and I still maintain, and I think I said this before to you guys too, that scene right there of going off to find Ezra is going to be the end of the Ahsoka show.
That may very well be as well.
So, well, Ezra may have actually died. So, spoilers, Andy.
Well, I've seen the epilogue because I know that.
Right. But he's shot. Ezra is thrown completely
dead to rights. Dead to
right in the back.
Yeah.
And then he turns in the Purgle jump. So that's a strong theory. But I think, and maybe it's thin. It's based on the staff, and it's based on the white cloak that we don't see anywhere yet.
Yeah.
And it's based on that silly little drawing that Dave Filoni gave us at Christmas on Twitter.
Oh yeah,
of Ahsoka the White standing beside Gandalf.
Yeah,
and I think that's the end game. I think that maybe Ezra could be a MacGuffin for 2-3 seasons and get resolved in the film. And I think that might be a bigger payoff for all of us.
Interesting.
But I just feel like Ahsoka the White and Ahsoka the Gray are at two different levels, and we're going to see her get there through this show. That's how I feel.
It still leaves that question burning. What the heck happened between the two of them to cause this friction that's very palpable throughout the trailer? Like in that conversation, you can't tell me that they're not a little edgy. Certainly Sabine is with Ahsoka.
Something drove a wedge.
Yeah.
I mean, she does say that she chose to stay on Lothal.
Yeah.
The whole time, no matter what was going on, the rest of the fight, presumably Ahsoka was involved in some of the fight, like the actual galactic civil war, presumably.
Yeah.
She was fulcrum or better by the time.
Yeah, that's right.
You could, like, was she operating openly?
I don't know.
Hera flew at
Endor
and at Endor.
At Endor, yeah. It's mentioned right in the epilogue, yeah.
And Rex fought at Endor.
Fought at Endor as well, yeah.
So I just, I mean, and maybe the friction is that she chose not to fight. She chose to stay on Lothal because she was confused about what Ezra thought he wanted of her.
Yeah.
She was very confused by that. It's up to you. And she took on the mantle of basically Lothal's protector, I believe.
Yeah, I believe that. I know this comes up in Hollywood all the time where actors will be asked to play either years above or years below their actual age. But I just want to add this to the mix just for consideration. At the end of Star Wars Rebels in 0BBY, Ezra Bridger is 19 years old. We know he's 19 years old because he was born on Empire Day, right? So we know he's 19.
That's right.
Iman Esfandi is 25, which means he would have filmed the series at age 24. If that hasn't happened yet, he should be. Ezra Bridger, if he's alive right now, should be 31 years old.
Yeah.
So is Iman Esfandi at age 24 when they filmed Ahsoka, now age 25 as it's about to air, is he within that window to play a convincing 31-year-old?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, I think those numbers are fairly blurry.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that they cast a young Ahsoka for this, right? The girl that played Liz Allen in the first new Spider-Man movie. I can't recall her name. Forgive me.
Okay, yeah. No, that's fair.
So, yeah. We're going to be jumping through time.
Now, I did talking about time jumps, and I actually thought going into this that because of the whole world between worlds thing, which has been alluded to, by the way, I thought we were going to get more of that. But I am very confident, after reviewing the trailer a few times, that there is no evidence of any time skips, time jumps within the context of the trailer. I don't see anything that suggests an overt, oh, we've gone somewhere. That doesn't mean that there isn't. It just means I don't see anything. That's all.
Well, especially now after you have the hair chopping scene.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
well, and there's all the reason for the hair chopping is the hair growing, and hair takes time to grow.
Yeah.
So like I think that's almost shot for shot the scene where Kanan cuts his
Kanan takes his
let's not like forget that.
Well, all things being cyclical, we're going to see it again tonight. There's a couple sequences that are like
straight out of the
they are recreated
right out of the finale.
Yeah. Pardon me. Excuse me.
I think that while I don't think we're going to get time jumps in terms of, we might get flashbacks so that we can see Hayden Christensen, and that would be cool. But I don't know if we're going to get time jumps like, Lost style time jumps all over the place. I think what we will get is those elements in the trailer being out of time in terms of their, the synchronous way they are played out over the first two episodes.
All right. We've got a whole lot of slides to get through tonight. Some of them I don't think we'll spend more time on than what it takes me to read the note that I have on them, but I promise you I spared no detail. I tried to cram as many stills into this as I possibly could. We're not going to actually watch the trailer because I would want to shut down. I would want to watch it and not say a word, and then we would get the copyright strike. So we'll stick with our regular format of still images, but I promise you I have much to talk about. So let's get to it. In our first image, the trailer opens with a tri-winged shuttlecraft approaching a New Republic transport. We've seen this transport as far back as the first teaser. Now, the shuttle is reminiscent of what I believe is an Eta class shuttle that was used during the Clone Wars, and we will get more looks at it as the trailer progresses. The New Republic ship in the background has yet to be identified, but it is almost certainly based on the Rebel Cruiser concept art from Joe Johnson that he did for Return of the Jedi. That ship, by the way, made it into the Star Wars Armada miniatures game, and it's called the MC-30 torpedo frigate. So it is a Mon Calamari design, and we will get to see it several times over as we go further. We cut to a hangar bay, and we see Ray Stevenson's Abaylan Skoll and Ivana Sakno's Shin Hati meeting with some members of the New Republic Navy. At the same time, we can hear a voiceover from Abaylan say that war is inevitable. One must destroy in order to create. One of the guards here is a Mon Calamari, and I'm pretty sure that the Eta class shuttle that we talked about earlier is the ship in the background with the ball cockpit. It doesn't exactly line up nicely with the animation model that we're all familiar with, but I actually think we're going to get we've seen
Live
modified.
action tweak.
We've seen modified versions of this thing before, and I think there's
Mhm.
actually a design that this lines up closer to, which I will talk about later. Off in the corner, we see a New Republic X-Wing, and by the looks of things, I believe it is still a T-65. I've heard at least one other person say that it's a T-70, but then again, we haven't seen T-70s yet. Those are the Resistance X-Wings. Our man, what's his name? Carson Teva. In his new, he flies a blue paint scheme on his X-Wing, so
That's
it's
right.
not impossible. I still think that's a T-65.
I agree.
Hopefully it's not Carson's, though,
Yeah, I hope not.
based on what happens.
Yeah, exactly. All right, then we get a montage of what looks like Balin and Shin seizing control of this New Republic ship and killing several New Republic soldiers along the way. In the hangar, we can see a New Republic A-Wing starfighter, as well as two soldiers who are force pushed through the air. I shouldn't say they're force pushed. They actually get shot. And the question is, are they actually being shot at, or is that their own blaster bolts being reflected
Redirected.
back at them? That's probably more likely the case. Small detail here, but possibly very important. It actually looks like Shin's character is sporting a Jedi Padawan braid just below her ear. You can't see it very well here, but it's there. I promise you, it's there.
Yep.
So she's
Yep.
his apprentice.
Yeah, for sure. All right, then Balin looks squarely at the officer in the hangar, and he declares, "We are no Jedi," as he runs him through with his lightsaber. Off in the background, we can see Shin, who's leaving the hangar, presumably for that montage that we just talked about, which tells us that this, like most trailers that are designed to generate excitement, is not in any particular order.
That's right.
Yeah.
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 All right. Then we get this awesome red Lucasfilm logo that's like swirling, almost like
Sith-like.
blood. I was thinking like swirling blood, and it's very, very dark. And the musical cue here. I don't know who's doing the score for this, but God, it's beautiful. All right. Then we get what do we get here? All right, we cut to Ahsoka, who's staring up at something as we hear her say, "I started hearing whispers of Thrawn's return as heir to the Empire." The camera cuts to what looks like a bas-relief image of a figure carved in stone, but given how different the lighting is between these two shots, it's unlikely that the two images are connected. More likely, this is Ahsoka looking up at the light is probably right after the moment in the teaser where she cuts a hole
She drops
into the
through.
ruins. Yeah,
Agreed. Yeah.
I've included that image just for reference. Then we see the back of Lars Mikkelsen's Grand Admiral Thrawn as he walks down a hallway. This is the same shot that we saw in the last trailer, so there's nothing new here. The bas-relief carving really gives off vibes similar to the painting of the Mortis gods, by the way. There is some speculation that this might actually be the one of them. Although stylistically, it's very much different than the painting in Rebels. And the Mortis gods in Rebels, it's a painting. This is a relief carving. So there are some differences.
In the art world, there's multiple depictions of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Sculpture, painting, drawing, what have you.
No, absolutely.
It looks to me like that golden painted thing, because these are puzzles from the video games too. Looks like that spins. And when
you'd
those
have to line
lines,
it up.
Like
those
there's
lines would line
the
up to different parts of
centerpiece. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the bas-relief carving gives off a vibe similar to the painting of the Mortis gods in the Jedi Temple on Lothal. And we know that the Empire, along with the Mining Guild, were excavating the temple in hopes of finding the painting. But then we cut to an overhead shot of Balin and Shin's shuttle resting just outside what looks a lot like the ruins of the Force Henge that we saw on Tython back in The Mandalorian, minus the Seeing Stone at the center, while Balin and Shin walk towards the ruins. There's that shuttle again, by the way. It looks a lot like an Edda. Okay, crossfade to Shin walking through the Force Henge as she asks, "What happens when we find Thrawn?" Then crossfade to Morgan Elsbeth, who's standing at the center of the henge while Balin and Shin watch her from the background. Morgan Elsbeth gestures over a stone monolith, and a holographic image of what I think is a galaxy flickers to life.
Could be.
Quick cut to Balin, who says, "Power such as you've never dreamed," before cutting to a wide shot of the three of them standing at the center of the henge, while the hollow image of the galaxy floats over a small monolith at the center of the henge. The entire ruin is enveloped in what looks like a three-dimensional map. Of course, if you don't remember, Morgan Elsbeth was the character from The Mandalorian from
Season
oh my
2.
gosh, what was her episode? It was named after her. The
Magistrate.
Magistrate. That's what it was.
That's where
Absolutely.
they got the Beskar spear.
Beskar. Yeah, that's right. Okay, this one's kind of cool. We cut to a wide shot of the henge with what I'm calling a navigational dome, fully activated, and it definitely does give like three-dimensional navigation device vibes. Now, this appears to be the same henge as the previous shot. However, there's two figures standing outside the dome, and as we'll see later on, originally I thought this might actually be a time travel thing, but I don't think it is. I actually think that these two guys are Morgan Elsbeth's guards. Remember back in The Mandalorian with the gas mask face and the long jackets?
Yeah.
I think that's what we're seeing here.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, sorry. This appears to be the same henge as the previous shot. I believe the two figures outside the dome are a pair of Elsbeth's guards, and at least one of these ships with the flat wing, I believe, is the same ship that we will see later on shooting at Ahsoka in a dogfight. It's also worth pointing out that, and Hank, you sent this over, it's worth pointing out that the dome does share a resemblance to the star maps from the Knights of the Old Republic video games. There is some differences, though. I know with the star maps, they physically have this like open close mechanism. We don't get that with the henge, but they definitely visually, I mean, that's
similar.
That's what we're looking at.
Yeah. Super similar. And knowing what they're like, where they are in the galaxy in KOTOR and their function and how old they go, like it ties nicely in with the Rakata references in Andor and the idea that we might be going with the James Mangold thing right back to the beginning. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. I'm going to stick with this image for a bit because this one, again, I initially was thinking time travel, and then this is the image that busted it open for me that, no, I don't think there's time travel going on here. I want to talk, there's a few more details I want to talk about. One is that ship on the left-hand side. That's almost certainly Ahsoka's T6 shuttle, also known as the Jedi shuttle.
Okay.
This image comes from Star Wars Galaxy's Edge theme park. While during their Mandalorian days, this model, which I believe is a shooting model, was actually on display. And if you look real close, the ball turret on the upper hull is a very close match for what we're seeing on the left-hand side of the shot. So I do believe that this is Ahsoka's ship parked on the left. And I also believe that the ship on the right, given that I think it's Morgan's guards, I do believe that that flat wing belongs to this fighter that we see later on, dogfighting with the T6. So that says a lot. We already know by the end of the trailer that Ahsoka and Balin are in a duel. So it looks like all of the
inside the map,
all of the players might be here right now.
Right.
So again,
led here for the same reason.
Yeah, and again, I have no idea like chronologically where this takes place, but I think they're all there right now. Okay, where are we at here now? Okay, we cut back to the interior of what I believe is that New Republic MC-30 torpedo ship, where Shin has now reached the bridge and she takes out the captain. Given the style of command chair, we can pretty much assume that, yes, this is a Mon Calamari design, as it has that common chair thing. Then we get a wide shot of the New Republic fleet over a planet that might be Coruscant, but it probably isn't. Could be something else, but definitely there's enough light emanating from the planet to say megacity of some kind. And this shot, I I spent I spent more time on this shot than I probably needed to, but you know me, I'm a ship nerd, and I combed this with a fine-tooth comb to pick out all of the details that you may have missed. And with that, let me just take you through this. In the shot, we have starts off with a flyby of 4 A-wing fighters. They fly past an MC-80 carrier at the center. Sorry, a Mon Calamari MC-80, which may actually be Home One from Return of the Jedi. In fact, I would be surprised if this isn't Home One.
With Admiral Akbar?
Well, Akbar should be alive at this point.
He should be.
Yeah.
Fully.
And I hope he gets his just dues, because I mean, that guy he went out so unceremoniously. He needs a moment.
It's a trap.
Not that the Battle of Endor was not a moment, but he needs a moment in this.
Yes.
All right. Beyond that, we also have at least 4 of these MC-30 torpedo boats. We also have 5 of the Sphyrna class Hammerhead corvettes from Rogue One. And then we also have 3 CR-90 corvettes, although one of them is out of frame. But I promise you, it is there. It's just the way that I had to crop. I had to crop the image. Yeah, so that's what you get. And all by its lonesome, a single Nebulon B frigate, or the medical frigate from The Empire Strikes Back.
Nice.
It's a sizable fleet.
It is. Let me just see here. What I did a total count there. If we don't include the fighters and we just talk about the capital ships, we got 4, 5, 10, 13, 14 ships. 14 ships without the fighters. Which is interesting, because as soon as the war was over, they immediately went into dismantling everything.
Yeah.
So the fact that there's this much left, first of all, the fact that there's this much to begin with, because the Battle of Endor does not give you the sense of scale that they have this many ships.
No.
All right. Well, from this shot, we cut to Mary Elizabeth Winstead's Hera Syndulla at the controls of a ship. Now, presumably, it's the Phantom II from Rebels, and we hear her say, "I've spent most of my life fighting a war." And then we cut to an exterior shot of the Phantom II as it dodges blaster fire. We can see Chopper nestled in his droid socket with his arms flailing away. Of course, the Phantom II is a modified Clone Wars Shithipede class transport shuttle. It looks like they're being shot at from the surface of the planet here, which you can see over like Chopper's head. Looks like it's water, at least partially water covered, which leads me to believe that this is probably the same planet where the shipbreaking yard from the teaser is, where Ahsoka's fighting the Inquisitor and the HK droids. This is probably the same world. We cut to what looks like a mission briefing room aboard the Home One from Return of the Jedi. We have 2 New Republic soldiers standing at the back of the room. The bleachers are empty, and Hera stands on one side of the large hollow table, flanked by 2 more New Republic military personnel, while a hollow image of the heads of the New Republic government stand on the other. Hera continues, "That's why I'm trying to convince you to help me prevent another one." And the sequence ends with a close-up of Genevieve O'Reilly's Mon Mothma. Now, this is right out of the Ahsoka media kit. We have names for all of these senators, and I feel sorry for the poor Gran on the right, because they like totally just nerf this character as Grand Senator.
Oh.
Now,
so is it Missy Rosas?
Well, that's a good question. Yeah. You mean playing the character?
Yeah.
It probably is. No, sorry, it's Erica Duke.
Okay.
From left to right, we have Senator Maywood, who's played by Maurice Irvin, Senator Rodrigo, played by Jacqueline Antermian, Chancellor Mon Mothma. She is the head of the government at this point, obviously played by Genevieve O'Reilly. And this one, ladies and gentlemen, Senator Ziono. That's Hamato Ziono, the father of Kazuto Ziono, the protagonist of Star Wars Resistance. So that's interesting to see that Resistance connection there.
Yep.
Of course, he's played by Nelson Lee. Andy, you would recognize that name.
I should.
The Dragon King from Stargirl.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. I don't remember him from anything else, but yeah, his IMDb does list him as the Dragon King.
Very
Of course,
cool.
you don't really see him.
No, he's always masked
Hooded,
up.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then our Grand Senator, played by Erica Duke. So cool little details there.
Mm-hmm.
I love the fact that they're in the briefing room. In fact, the last time Mon Mothma stood in this room that we saw her on film, she was physically there, pretty much standing in roughly the same, standing kind of where Hera is actually right now. But yeah, this is almost certainly on that on the MC-80.
So if it is Home One, and I believe you're correct.
Yep.
After the Battle of Jakku,
Right.
Like Akbar not necessarily retired, but he kind of took a back seat, and this became Leia's flagship until she retired, or went to train with Luke, or started wanting to be a full-time parent, or whatever the case was. So we could be past that, like presumably Ben Solo's around 5 to 9 years old.
Yeah,
around now. But it's not ridiculous that we could see Leia on board.
That is true, yeah.
And if she's on board, there's a chance you could see a little 5-year-old Ben Solo run through the halls.
Do you think they'll do? Do you think they'll do that? Like,
it's just that, like, it wouldn't be out of the proximity.
No,
we've had enough legacy show up in these live action shows. We've had Luke freaking Skywalker, for God's sakes.
Yeah, but they do say, like, they're not just going to jam somebody.
Well, this is what I mean.
Like, jamming their in there.
Cameo for cameo's sake.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Don't do it.
Yeah,
if there's a valid reason for them to be there,
general of the, and it's her ship.
Yeah,
it's organic enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
And she's pretty prominent in a few of the episodes in terms of character. Luke Skywalker shows up and he's a little kid running off in the distance, but she shows up and she's a full-fledged member of the rebellion at 16, undercover as a senator.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we cut to a ship, a hangar in space. Presumably, this is also on Home One, as you can see the nose of one of those MC-30s behind them, where Hera walks out to meet Rosario Dawson's Ahsoka Tano and David Tennant's ancient droid character Huyang, who have just landed aboard Ahsoka's T6 Jedi shuttle. Of course, there's that shooting model again.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Huyang made his first appearance in the 7th episode of season 5 of the Clone Wars. That one was a test of strength, but this character has been established to be roughly 25,000 years old. He is described as a architect droid, and by architect, I mean architect of lightsabers.
Mm-hmm.
He has a record of virtually every lightsaber ever made. Yeah.
Yeah. So therefore, every Jedi that ever wielded said lightsaber.
Yeah. All right. So then from there, Hera says to Ahsoka, "You and I both know who could help you with this." And Ahsoka just looks away and says nothing. Cut to an exterior shot of Lothal, where a pair of X-Wings escort the T6 shuttle towards Lothal City, while Natasha Liu Bordisso's Sabine Wren watches the ships pass overhead as she stands on the balcony of the tower where we first meet Ezra Bridger in the opening shot of the premiere episode of Star Wars Rebels. And as the sequence ends with a close-up, of Sabine with a voiceover from Ahsoka saying she's still just as stubborn as ever. And this is one of those recreated shots right out of the epilogue, because that's Sabine there at the end in her armor from the series, standing there, a pair of X-Wings, and the T6 shuttle goes by. I'm like, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But I like what's going on here on the other end of it is that shot of Ezra from the first episode of Rebels leaning on the railing, staring at the city. It's also evocative of that at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I would put money that this is the opening shot of the series.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah,
I believe it. And we know that this is going to, well, parts of this that are connected to this, or we're going to go through it twice. There, whatever happens, there's a difference between the long hair and the short hair. So we know they're going to meet at least twice. and Sabine's going to refute Ahsoka, whatever Ahsoka's come for, and then have a change of heart and go, okay, I'll go. So that's going to be an interesting thing. All right, cut to an overhead shot of one of those highways on Lothal that connects the communication towers to the main city, where we see an E-Wing fighter slide into view. The fighter chases Sabine, who's speeding down the highway on a speeder bike. At the same time, a voiceover from Hera says, I bet your master found you difficult at times. Now, the E-Wing Starfighter is a fighter that first appeared in Star Wars Legends in the 1991 Dark Horse comic. I think it was Dark Empire. I believe it was Dark Empire. Yeah, the Dark Empire comic. Now, this was the first Starfighter that was made entirely under the New Republic banner, and it was intended as a replacement for the X-Wing. It also made its way into the Star Wars X-Wing miniatures game, but this version, the live-action version, takes a little bit of artistic license, and it removes that third cannon over the canopy, which, by the way, that was the right thing to do, by the way. Get rid of that thing. It looks kind of goofy. All right. In addition, looking at Sabine for a minute, we see a Tuca cat or a Loth cat, which is a subspecies of Tuca on her helmet. We also see some Orabesh. Now, this is kind of weird because they don't use it very often, but it reads Besh Nth Besh, or B A-E B, or babe. Which does not help it when you're trying not to look at this woman in a subjective way or in a demeaning way, that Sabine is perhaps a babe, even if it is true. Anyway,
be a kick-ass babe though.
There's another thing that I want to point out here, and I don't know if there was a connection to this in Rebels, because we never saw Sabine. Sabine was always in her armor.
Yeah,
she just was always in her armor. The patch on her jacket, the red patch with the two hemispherical yellow bits, Hera's wearing the same patch on her jacket too.
Maybe it was like
so. Is this a connection back to the days of the Phoenix Squad or the Phoenix Cell?
Maybe handed out to anybody who was in it.
I don't know, but I like it.
Yeah.
All right, then we cut to Ahsoka, who we see is speaking to Hera via hologram as she says, Anakin never got to finish my training. I walked away from him. We can see Hera is sporting the rank plaque of a New Republic general, and we know that she rose to general by the time we get to Rogue One at 0 BBY. So that's no surprise that she's still a general. Well, then we crossfade to Ahsoka and Sabine standing on the platform just outside the building that I think is the building that houses the mural of the Spectres. At least I think that's where it is. Ahsoka continues, just like I walked away from Sabine. Cut to an interior shot where Ahsoka and Sabine are sitting around a holo table. On the table, it looks like an image of some rocky formations. I believe this is inside the T6 shuttle, by the way. Sabine stares at Ahsoka as she says, you never made things easy for me. This is almost certainly a holo image of the ruins that we saw Ahsoka visit in the first teaser. You can tell by their, I cut it off, but there's three large figure-ish looking things in the hologram, and you can kind of see them in the teaser as well when she walks up to the ruins. I think that's what we're looking at here. All right, then we cut back to the chase sequence where the E-Wing has now landed on the highway in front of Sabine, but Sabine dips the nose of the bike down and she skids underneath the fighter, while at the same time the ship's onboard astromech droid pops its head up while sparks quite literally shoot out of its head. It's a little bit of a comedy moment, I think, where it's like, oh, surprised about something. The canopy of that ship is open, by the way, so somebody's definitely jumped out. Yeah, definitely piloting that. Small detail here, and I quite like it. I like the, again, talking about artistic liberties here. Sabine, I believe, is riding an Imperial Aerotech 614 AVA speeder. We did see that in Rebels. Ezra had his own personal one with his own paint job on it. At first, I wondered if, with Sabine living, quite literally living in Ezra's house. I wondered if this was maybe
It's the
his
same
bike
one.
repainted, but then the fairing on the nose between the steering vanes looks to be plain Jane military gray. So maybe this is just another one. I do like how they've changed the ride position. So it's more like sport bike and less sit back chopper kind of look. I do quite like that.
She's the mechanic.
She is, yeah. All right, so let me go back here for a second. I want to go back to the E-wing for a second now, because again, this being a legend ship, we need to talk about this. This is actually quite cool. The earliest models of E-wings were equipped with an R7 astromech droid, not to be confused with Ahsoka's R7, but this is an R7 series droid, which you can distinguish by its triangular. The eye on the dome, instead of being round like an R2, it's an inverted triangle. But that's not what we're looking at here.
No.
If in fact the droid that we are looking at is an R7, and I love it when they do this, they have taken their direction from the old Kenner toy, because that, my friends, is the 1978 toy R2D2 head, complete with the blue and red lights on the dome.
So wicked.
I quite like that.
Nice.
Now, there's been some more talk about this. I didn't really include it in here, but we can talk about it. There's a lip on the bottom of the droid dome. I've heard some people speculate, is this an early BB unit? Because apparently BB units do exist at this point in the timeline. Whether that pays off or not, I don't know.
I would say the head's really bulky for a BB unit. But
I just assumed that this was an integrated, like it's hardwired, it's part of the ship.
maybe.
You know, like the early astromechs, like R4 in the Jedi Starfighter, just part of the ship.
Who could
So
be flying this, trying to track her down?
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe Hera.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I mean, I presume that it's a where is it here? I presume it's a New Republic ship. I mean, it's got that sort of, white and blue. So I don't know.
Sort of like there's a couple of scenes. There's a scene in I guess it's like them trying to track her down to re-recruit her for a mission. It's very Top Gun, where a plane flies in and while Tom Cruise is riding on a bike, or I just get this Mission Impossible sort of vibes off of it. Like it
does give that.
Yeah, the classic 80s when you're trying to recruit the hero back into the game. So there's this extreme sort of I don't know why, but it reminds me of the Star Trek chase in J.J. Abrams' Star Trek chase, where he's in his stepdad's car. Yeah.
What's your name, citizen? I'm James Tiberius Kirk. Okay. All right, we cut back to the interior of the T6 shuttle. Sabine still seated at the table. She finishes her sentence with the word master. And it's so like daggers, like she is shooting daggers with her eyes. Ahsoka, now standing, turns to face Sabine. From Sabine's line, it would seem that at some point Ahsoka may have begun to train her as a Jedi. I don't know about that. Another thing I heard, and Hank, you brought this up. Maybe she's not trained as a Jedi at all, but maybe this is an extension of the lightsaber training that she got from Kanan.
So yeah, just think about Grievous's line. I am trained in the Jedi arts.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that makes me think maybe she's going a little deeper than that is the scene that's coming up where she obviously is trying to force push somebody.
Yeah. Okay.
And the original trailer, maybe that's her hand trying to reach across the table and move a cup, and not Jason like we had speculated.
Oh, maybe. That actually makes more sense now that you say that. All right, cut to the interior of Ezra's tower, where we get a montage of Sabine. First, she's dressed in her street clothes while still with her long hair. She watches a hologram of Iman Esfandi's Ezra Bridger. Ezra says, as a Jedi, sometimes you have to make the decision no one else can. Crossfade to Sabine, who's now wearing her armor and kneeling in front of her helmet. Ezra's voice continues. but I'm counting on you to see this through. It's almost like it's like directed, like that's a message specifically recorded for her.
Big time.
Is this a reuse? This isn't a reuse from something we've seen before.
Other than this scene plays right out in the finale, like she's watching his hologram.
Does the hologram say the same thing?
Pretty close. I think they add some lines here.
Okay.
So there's like more to it, but it's very, very close. He's dressed like and is going away. He's dressed.
Oh yeah, very much. Yeah.
You know, and Buddy's voice is spot on, by the way.
Yeah, he's really
super
good.
happy with his voice.
Really
yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Really good.
Well, we cut to a close-up of Sabine's helmet, and we see the shadow of her arm, and we can hear the slash of the... Oh, sorry, I skipped ahead. Cut to Sabine gathering her long hair into a ponytail with one hand while she holds a knife to it in the other. Cut to a close-up of Sabine's helmet, and we can see the shadow of Sabine's arm and hear the slash of the knife as she cuts off her own hair.
And the night owl accoutrements are gone. You know, she always had the eyes. So she's got
on
a
her
completely
helmet,
different style paint job.
Well, not surprising that, she's, pushed her art. Crossfade to Ahsoka standing in front of her T6 shuttle with the hood of her gray cloak drawn up. Looking at Sabine, she says, "Nice haircut." Cut to Sabine standing in front of the Spectre mural as Sabine nods. Then cut to the cockpit of the T6 where Ahsoka throws a lever. Then she, along with Sabine in the co-pilot seat and Huyang seated behind them, jump into hyperspace. So it looks like Ahsoka and Sabine are going to meet at the mural twice. Presumably, Sabine will choose not to go with Ahsoka based on whatever friction there is between the two of them, but after watching the Hollow of Ezra, she has a change of heart.
Right.
Okay. Cut to an exterior shot of the shipbreaking facility, the shipbreaking yard, where Ahsoka squares off against an HK-87 assassin droid and a humanoid clad in black armor wielding the lightsaber of an Imperial Inquisitor, which is really weird because they're not supposed to be any Inquisitors by this time in the timeline. They are all supposed to be gone.
Flashback.
Well, I don't believe this is a flashback. I believe this is in the moment. The HK-87 assassin droid, by the way, made their first appearance in The Mandalorian Season 2, where we did see them in the service of Morgan Elsbeth. Now, those HKs bore the mark of Grand Admiral Thrawn on their heads. I can't make anything out on this one. It's too small. The last Inquisitors seen canonically, at least on television, were around 4 BBY in Season 2 of Rebels. All right. Cut to Sabine in her armor as she approaches the Spectre mural and she touches Ezra's face. This is a recreation too, exactly sort of shot for shot from the epilogue. A voiceover from Ahsoka says, "Sometimes we have to do what's right regardless of our personal feelings." Then we cut to Ahsoka's T6 shuttle as it is being fired upon by an unseen foe. Now, the incoming blaster bolts are green, and traditionally in Rebels, green means Empire. So it's not out of the question that it could be the Imperial Remnant. However, from a shot that we're going to see later on, I do not believe that this is the case. Now, stationed in a ball turret, Sabine returns fire, blowing up the pursuing craft, and she lets out a triumphant woo.
Gotta have a woo.
Yeah. Cut to the T6 shuttle as it comes nose to nose with a Purgle. A huge Purgle. Bigger than I think we've ever seen before.
So good.
Full grown.
Now, Purgles first appeared in episode 5 of the second season of Rebels in the episode The Call. They're basically space whales that naturally move through hyperspace. And while we did see the silhouette of a few Purgles in season 3 of The Mandalorian, this will be the first time that we are seeing the animal itself in live action, not silhouetted. And it looks so cool.
It looks fantastic.
Yeah, it looks really, really cool. I like the hair. I don't know what else to call that. The hair coming out of it. It's like a giant. It's the biggest Muppet you ever saw. Can you imagine if they do that too? If they do it like Muppet style?
Well, what happens when that thing opens its mouth? Swallowed whole.
Yeah, really. All right, this is interesting. We cut to an interior shot of the T6 where Ahsoka is now dressed in a blue uniform. We can hear Sabine say, "Buckle up," as she throws the control yoke forward. Now, the uniform is pretty much the same color blue like a lot of the New Republic uniforms, but strikingly, on the shoulder pauldron is the galactic rondelle, the emblem of the Old Republic. Now, in Star Wars Legends, after the fall of the Empire, the New Republic did reinstate the rondelle, but because of its close association with the Empire, it was pretty much like swept under the rug. Like nobody
changed the number of spokes. Doesn't the galactic rondelle have a
Uh,
different number of spokes than the Imperial?
I do not believe. It's later on that they change it, but there's 8 there, I think. We do a count here. It's kind of hard to make out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, there's 8 there. So I think we're looking at a uniform that's a holdover from way back when.
Maybe it's a Peldrin from Anakin.
Well,
Galactic rondelle has 6.
Okay, so then what are we looking at? The symbol of the Empire then?
Yes.
Well,
See that?
I can see it. I'm wondering, like the ship is referred to as the T6. It was quite often referred to as the Jedi shuttle. And I mean, the Jedi didn't really own anything. So, I mean, presumably it was on loan from the New Republic.
Yeah.
But there were all those other support jobs within the Jedi Order. Maybe this is a holdover from that it just belonged to a pilot that may have used the ship before.
Maybe.
I think
I don't know.
I mean, I think the eight bars is indicative of that it's Imperial. And I think Sabine's gray uniform here is indicative that their undercover is Imperials.
I actually think that's just the under layer of her armor, to be honest. I don't know.
We're gonna find out.
Yeah. All right. Cut to a dogfight in the clouds where the T6 shuttle is being pursued by a mystery starfighter in and around the Purgle. As we can see the ships flying, you can see the dappled skin of the space whale, as well as the tentacles as they bob and weave in and around them. This is a new class of starfighter I don't think we've ever seen before, but we will see it later on in the trailer. All right, we cut to the interior of the T6 where Ahsoka is now leaning on a bulkhead. She says to Sabine, "If we don't stop Thrawn, everything will be in vain." Cut to Lars Mikkelsen's Grand Admiral Thrawn. If you didn't see the leaked trailer from Star Wars Celebration, this is the same shot that they got in person at the convention. So there it is. We finally get to see it. This is not the same trailer, by the way, though.
No,
this is
no.
Now, for purposes of getting this image, I had to cut and crop a little bit, so we missed out on a background detail. Looks like Thrawn has a new trooper type. Unfortunately, it was too blurry for me to make it out, but same general sort of stormtroopery style helmet with a gold faceplate.
Maybe.
I don't know anything about it, but I'm interested to know more.
Would you like to know more?
Yeah, really. We crossfade to a word card. I was going to say title card, but this isn't the title. A word card. It says darkness. Then we crossfade to Sabine laying in a forest, laying on her back with her hand outstretched as if she's perhaps trying to ward something off.
Or force push something back.
Possibly. Crossfade to Shin in the same forest as she says, "You have no power." You can quite clearly see that Padawan braid now. Crossfade to Shin making an overhead swing with her lightsaber, then cut to Shin as she makes a side swing and locks blades with Sabine, who is wielding Ezra Bridger's second lightsaber, presumably. But he did leave it with her at the end of Rebels. So
did leave it with her, yeah.
Yeah.
Show did.
Yeah, the overhead chop and the locking of blades, they are not the same because it goes from an overhead to a side swing. So some nice.
Unless they need to hire new editors. But no, I agree.
We cut to a new word card. It says is coming. So now we have darkness is coming. And then we cut back to the Force Henge where Ahsoka now approaches Baylan Skoll inside the navigation array. And Baylan says, Anakin spoke highly of you. And God dang it. Just hearing like these short little lines from Rey, he might be one of my favorite characters going into this already. I mean, I'm a Ray Stevenson fan from like Rome. So I love his work. And I'm so sad that he's no longer with us, that he's not going to be around to receive all of the stuff that's going to be
coming out of this.
Yeah. I mean, not that he'd be allowed to do anything anyway because of the strike, but I mean, you could at least he could passively witness the fan outpouring that I am sure is going to come from this.
Yeah.
All right. Cut to Ahsoka igniting her lightsaber as we hear Darth Vader's respirator. Cut to a wide shot of Baylan and Ahsoka clashing blades, and then two more angles of their continued lightsaber duel. Cut to a montage of the T6 shuttle as it lowers into a hover while Ahsoka runs from an explosion emanating from inside the ruins that we saw back in the teaser, presumably the same ruins that they were staring at on the holo table inside the shuttle.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, we can hear a voiceover from Ahsoka say, I'm not here to discuss my past. Crossfade to Huyang sitting in the cockpit of the T6 as he says, we have a lot of work to do. Cut to Hera, who says, once a rebel, always a rebel. And then cut to Sabine, who looks over at Ahsoka. Folks online are saying that the shot of Hera is probably on board the Ghost. And I'm inclined to believe that. It certainly does not line up with the interior of the other two shots.
No.
It's very different. Looks like some Corellian padding there, kind of Millennium Falcon-ish, if you know what I mean. All right. Then what are we doing now? We cut back to Sabine back in the forest. And I'm sure it's the same forest as before, where she uses the cable dispenser on her gauntlet to tie up an armored foe. Now, like I said, this is pretty much the same forest where she was laying on the ground with her helmet off. The guard looks like it's one of Morgan Elsbeth's guards that we saw back in The Mandalorian with the crazy respirator thing going on. Yeah. Then we cut back to the ship breaking yard where Ahsoka continues her fight with the HK assassin droid and what I am calling the Inquisitor, because what else do you call a guy dressed like an Inquisitor? And she runs the droid through. Now, the ship breaking yard is not unlike some of the places we've already been to, like Braca in Jedi Fallen Order, and more recently, Ferrix in Star Wars Andor. Cut to space where we can see Ahsoka's T6 racing towards a planet. Cut to the interior of the cockpit where Ahsoka wrestles with the controls. Huyang's eyes flicker as the cockpit shakes. Cut to an exterior shot where the T6 shuttle goes head to head with a pair of starfighters, splitting them down the middle. Now, these two starfighters, they appear to be variations of what I think is the same model of ship, albeit one of them has a set of vertical stabilizers on the wingtips, while the other one has a dorsal fin just in front of the rear thruster. And it's definitely the one with the stabilizers was the one that was in the dogfight around the Purgle. And I think the other one is the ship that was parked at the Force Henge with the T6 shuttle.
All right. Bet could be our dark side users.
Well, is it though? Because I associate them with that Eda shuttle.
Ship,
the shuttle.
So I think that these are Morgan's people.
Oh yeah, that's probably true.
The other possibility is, while the Imperial Remnant has been doing whatever they're doing, Thrawn's been off doing whatever he's doing.
Yeah,
could
we've
these
never seen a chist fighter?
And I mean, Legends, just fighters and Legends are basically another variation of TIE fighter with a fancy, weird-looking quad wing design. But this is a perfect opportunity to introduce a new class of fighter as part of Thrawn's forces, so that they don't we don't go back to the evil empire again.
Mhm.
At the same time, it doesn't matter to me. I just like new ships.
A new ship.
No, exactly. Well,
Since his hands
thanks.
on the Starforge, he can pump out whatever he wants.
That's right. I put the shot of the ball turret shot in there, Sabine shooting. Pretty sure that's one of these two fighters getting axed by Sabine in that shot when she gives the woo. Thanks to the upcoming Star Wars Lego set number 75357, the Ghost and Phantom 2, we can see what I believe is the starfighter with the vertical stabilizers is included on the box art. So I think we can definitely infer that the Ghost is going to be in the series.
Way to go, Lego.
As always.
Yep.
And with Morgan Elsbeth being a shipbuilder for the Empire, it's absolutely plausible that she's got her own sort of little force of
a small
dudes.
armada.
Yeah, and those two guys standing outside the henge, it's probably them.
Yeah.
All right, we cut to Hera and Ahsoka standing in a building somewhere. It's probably inside the shipbreaking yard somewhere. Hera fires her blaster at an unseen foe. We then cut to an exterior shot of the shipyard where Balin and Shin's shuttle is now strafing the ground around Ahsoka and the Inquisitor. Ahsoka runs toward the cannon fire. It's an interesting choice.
Yeah. She's going to ray it up and jump right over and chop him in half.
All right, this is the last time we're going to see the shuttle in the trailer, so I'm going to put it all together and kind of go with what I think is going on here. It looks a lot like, I hate to say this, especially with that cockpit, but it looks like Darth Sidious's modified Ida. Mind you, the wings are further modified. They're much longer. And even if it isn't, that's fine. The fact that we're supposed to believe that these guys walked out of the old Republic, I'm completely sold on that. Totally sold on it.
Looking at that top wing, though.
Yep.
Does it not remind you of the crashed one from Tales of the Jedi?
Crash shuttle.
You look in the back of the field where she's just chopping down all the crimson flowers, and there's that one wing sticking out of the ground.
Possibly.
Yeah.
In the opening shot, when we first see it, we see the quad engines and they're steep angled. Because we're seeing it from the back, I actually thought it was a variation of Orson Krennic's shuttle because it has the same sort of angular engines. But then the more I looked at it, I'm like, oh, the ball cockpit, that's Old Republic kind of stylings. I think it is Old Republic tech, and it's probably been modified just to keep it space worthy.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, we cut back to the forest planet where the masked Inquisitor spins their lightsaber. Now, Ahsoka stands poised with her lightsaber overhead, ready to clash blades. Cut back to the Inquisitor, whose mask is like purely medieval looking, by the way.
Yeah.
And then cut to a wide shot of the two of them before we cut to a close-up where Ahsoka and the Inquisitor lock blades. She basically stops the spinning. Crossfade to a title card that says Star Wars Ahsoka. And then we cut to black.
Crazy. Crazy.
Can't get used to enough.
Any details or points you guys want to go back to before we move the? Okay, let's get to that.
In my theory,
because that's the big one here.
Yeah.
Who is this guy?
Don't know what I know.
Who is this guy?
Guy or girl?
So we have a.
There's a couple angles there that could be female armor.
So I knew early on, and I didn't say anything at the time because it's really irrelevant. We've seen this in Hollywood all the time, but I knew that the stunt performer was a man.
Okay.
Yes.
I knew that way early on. Now I know his name.
Okay.
Now we know his name, and we know the name of the character, which is Marok.
Well,
but it could be a misdirect because we've totally seen that before. We all collect action figures, and Idaho Jim.
From, that's right.
Is always, Montana 6.
What was they do was that? It a wave of the first wave of G.I. Joe classifieds, or maybe it was a wave of Transformers? They all had insect names.
Yeah. Right.
And that wave of Spider-Man had like anchovy and green pepper.
I just want to throw out, and I threw this out in the chat, and I actually, this is a hill that the more it sits in my mouth and it tastes better and better and better. Marok is very close to Merrick. Galen Merrick is
I wanted to say that is the best of, that is the in my world, that is the best of, that's the secret sauce. Like that's
the secret sauce.
It's the secret sauce.
It really is.
Let's back up for a second and go with sort of some of the other theories, and so we can like get to this one, because this one is really, really interesting.
Sure.
So there has been some speculation about who this character could be, and Andy, you did say man or woman.
Yeah.
Not going to ignore that. The first one and most obvious one is that this might actually be the eighth brother. That this is in fact an Inquisitor. And the last time we saw the eighth brother, they apparently seemingly died in the episode Twilight of the Apprentice, which, by the way, we're covering next week.
Yes.
So do come back for that. When he tried to helicopter away and the lightsaber started to fizzle out, we never saw the guy truly fall. Now, this is really semantic. But that helmet, I mean, really does line up quite nicely with the fifth or the eighth brother.
Yeah.
We do learn that the eighth brother is from a species called Torelian Django Jumper. And that character is portrayed as having just three fingers and a forked two-toed foot. Whereas this live action character is completely humanoid, if not human. That being said, there has been some inconsistencies with Torelian Django Jumpers, because the character Cassie Cryer, the character on the right, who is also a Torelian Django Jumper, has 5-fingered hands just like a human being. Comment coming in from Red over on YouTube, who says, no body, no death.
True.
That is a kind of a Star Wars trope, isn't it?
Loose end.
It really is. So I put that one out first because, just visually speaking, and we've seen this before. We've seen the live action stuff. Look at the outrage and all of the stuff we went through with the Grand Inquisitor.
Yeah.
Did it really fundamentally change who the character was?
No.
Not really.
I don't think so.
Is it possible that, we're just going to retcon the eighth brother to be a human?
Or did somebody just take up his mantle?
Well, there's that aspect as well.
And he becomes the Dread Pirate 8.
The Dread Pirate 8. Now, talking about taking up the mantle, because that's a great segue to where we can go next. And that is the obvious one that I think we were all on some level when Kenobi came out. We were like, we got to get another dose of Barasofi because no body. They made such a point of showing us her quarters in the Grogu flashback, and it's like there's just too much suggestion for it not to pay off.
Especially when they always say there's nothing by accident.
Everything is intentional. Now, we've seen Barriss Offee before wear a mask, albeit it was Asajj Ventress's mask in an attempt to frame her. But it's not impossible.
No,
it's not impossible.
It's highly likely. It almost might be a misstep not to do it at some point, but it might not be this early.
Maybe not. Now it is 11 plus 12 between 11 and 13 years since Barriss Offee was incarcerated. It's a long time to stew on it.
Well, it'd be longer than that, wouldn't it?
Well, the show takes place around season 3 of The Mandalorian. That places it in 11 ABY.
Yeah. And
she's been incarcerated since 19 BBY.
Since
19
okay, so
BBY.
it is. Yeah, that's much longer. Yeah. Sorry, that is much longer.
She's been in jail for like 40 years or something like that.
Or has she?
Yeah. But really. So that would be the thing. She would be an easy one for Vader to pluck out of the system.
And corrupt.
Easy. I'd heard another reviewer talking about this, saying like maybe it was Barriss Offee that gave up her master's body in that episode where they animated or force projected her. You know what I mean? Like that's some real evil stuff.
Yeah, she did some pretty low shit in that. In her Clone Wars episode. So,
well, I'm going to go back to that the media kit for this, because not only did we get all the names of the senatorial delegation there, we also got the name of this character. Now, this character has been credited with the name Marok, Marrok, Marok. And Marok is at least stunt performed by Paul Darnell. Now, Paul Darnell, this is a really cool one. He's got a lot of credits, but I just want to point out that he was Henry Cavill's stand-in as Superman for all of his stunts throughout the Snyderverse. All of them. So
well, based
that's
on his
pretty
looks
cool.
there, maybe he can be up in the Legacy.
Yeah, really. Maybe he'll have another job.
It looks similar enough.
Yeah, maybe. But man, Hank, you can't deny it. You said like maybe it's a misdirect, and if Marok, even if it's not spelled the same way, doesn't sound an awful lot like Merrick, as in Galen Merrick, as in Star Killer. As in Sam Witwer's Star Killer from the Force Unleashed games, man.
And it all sounds like a crazy fairy tale until you play the interview.
Until you know, which I didn't until earlier this week. By the way, Sam Witwer, Star Wars royalty, is the voice of Maul in all of the animation, including live action Solo. 2017? In 2017, during a Twitch stream, Sam Witwer was actually playing The Force Unleashed with another fellow, and he had an interesting line of conversation. And I just want to play this. Man, I want to play this for everybody, just so we can all be on the same page. Check this out.
We're not Dave Filoni. We've never had him on here, but like, you know.
Dave did share with me, by the way, he considered making Starkiller an Inquisitor in Star Wars Rebels, and it just didn't snap. It didn't quite fit the story that they were telling, but he did think about it.
Does it fit the story now?
It might.
Oh man!
I mean, Vader's two apprentices literally going toe to toe, like.
There's all kinds of like metaphor where master and apprentice is concerned with like Shin and Balin, and is Balin a metaphor for Anakin, and is Shin a metaphor for Ahsoka? But then you get this and you go, oh my God.
It's a good bet too. It's, it's probably even a better bet that this character is like a speed bump that we'll never get anything else except his death when Ahsoka just walks through him like he's nothing.
Sure. If the mask comes off and Sam Witwer's face is under that, I'll
be so happy.
I'll probably break a bone jumping out of my seat so hard.
That would be so Luke. That would be on par with how you top Luke Skywalker for me.
It would be, which I place on the same level of reverence as you are Darth Revan. It's that level of like, punch in the face.
Yeah.
We've got a link to the Twitch stream, or at least to that segment. There's a little bit more going on. I cut all the video gaming out of it, but if you want to see the Twitch, that clip, as it appears on Twitch, you can find the link.
He's one of us in the biggest way.
He is so one of us.
Yeah.
That, my friends, is a Fandom Power full breakdown of the Ahsoka trailer. Did we miss anything? I don't know. Let us know.
Nothing I've seen from other people, that's for sure.
I don't think anybody else was making the connection on some of the ship stuff. I don't think anybody really dialed in that the shooting model, that T6 shooting model, that is the ball turret that Sabine is sitting in. We can presume it is, but I like to have that concrete. Oh, there it is. Mm-hmm. And seeing it outside the Force henge with that, what I think is one of those fighters, makes it a very interesting, like, oh, so we're all here together.
They were racing to that spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Do we think that there's more than one henge in the series? That because I know, like in KOTOR, there was multiple star maps. Like
There's
one
one
map
on
led to
Tatooine.
another, led to another.
Well,
That's why
Led to
the
the thing,
Rakata
right?
bombed it to a desert.
Yeah,
yeah, and
there's
if
one on
Morgan
Korriban.
is like trying to find them and lead the rest of them to it,
sure.
like wouldn't it just be the thing where Ahsoka is trying to get to it before they do
Oh,
and destroy them?
I
Well,
do
it's
think
always a
that
good,
there is a
good map race, as always.
yeah. I mean, it's the Indiana Jones thing. We're gonna fly by map,
Yeah.
and hopefully we get there before the bad guys.
Yeah.
Doesn't work out that way,
Mm.
at least not from what we've seen.
But you guys were taking bets that everything we've seen so far will go down in the first 2 episodes.
First 2 episodes, yeah, I'm banking on that. And now that we know, and this was something that I think caught me off guard. Did you guys expect double episode drop on day
I
one?
didn't.
I did not.
No, neither did I.
It pushes it to 7 weeks of
Right.
airtime.
It makes it a shorter run. I was
I-
thinking,
Mhm.
8 episodes, 8 weeks.
I think
No.
the first episode is going to be like a very cliffhangery, like to the point, like
Yeah.
do not make me wait a whole week to find out what happens here.
When they did the Andor drop, and it was like, oh, now I know why they did this,
Yeah,
because you
Right.
needed to
It was
see
a
all
very
of them
slow
I
together.
found the same thing with Moon Knight. Moon Knight was
yeah.
a double drop.
Yeah. It begs the question, though, if that's what they're doing here. Like, do we need to see both of these episodes for it to have that cohesion to hook you? I can't see it. I mean,
No.
there's so much adoration around this character, and I think we've been when did Rebels go off the air? 2015,
No, it'd be 16, 17 or
16
18.
probably.
16. So,
If season 2 was in 2016,
oh, that's right. So
17 or 18, I think.
17, 8. We've been clamoring for this
For 7
for
years.
yeah. I mean,
which isn't that long in the real scape of things, but
When they announced all of them, this was the one that I was like,
yeah,
yeah.
perked your ears up.
ate poop for.
Yeah. With everything though starting to cross pollinate, and now that I'm very deep into Jedi Survivor now, by the way,
Excellent.
so I am starting to get an appreciation for what's going on with this High Republic stuff. I'm really enjoying this, how all things are kind of spinning together into one big yarn.
Yeah.
I am very hopeful for the Acolyte.
Mhm.
Very, very hopeful.
Now, do we think Tamira Morrison's going to have a spot in Ahsoka?
I
Because
hope so.
I think was it this
So,
week he was quoted.
This week. Yeah.
Yeah,
he
he
was
was at
making
a
a
he was at a
stopover,
convention. Yeah,
and he was going to LA next on his way home.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
Apparently he wanted to drop by Lucasfilm and have words
just
with
see what's
people
what.
about- yeah. This is what he was saying.
Don't nerf my character.
Yeah.
Well, he's already had words about what happened with Boba Fett. We know that he wasn't exactly thrilled with that, but
And
he's a
it-
professional. And
Yeah,
In terms of what Iger's been saying, and nobody trusts that guy anymore. But in terms of what that guy's been saying about nerfing is a good term.
yeah,
Star Wars and Marvel,
less.
like pumping the brakes.
Yeah.
I get the impression more than less. I'm like
Is this a
big
case
pump
of
break.
less is more or less is less? Because not only was it going to be less volume of Star Wars properties, it was going to be lower budgeted Star Wars properties. Now,
that was one of the problems that a lot of the industry is having, and you started to get this bleed out when you're talking about part of the film industry is getting funding from people, and when everybody's funding Avatar, nobody's
Yeah.
getting money to make their little indie cool films and stuff. I can't remember who it was now. I'll have to look it up. One of the bigger actors is saying, wouldn't it be cool if all the SAG actors were hooked up with content creators and made their movies for them?
Oh wow,
Indie
wouldn't that be
style?
something? Yeah.
Like, imagine that. Like, we could just grab, like
Who's
whoever
good for
and
that?
be our fan project.
Who's really good for that is a lot of the Star Trek cast, like the legacy cast of Star Trek from the various properties. They turn up in fan stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Doug Jones turned up in a Star Wars fan film as a Sith Lord. It's really well done. But I'd be all for that. Do you think the three of us could have a script churned out in say like a month or something?
Watch me. I just have to open a few files and like take a feather duster to it.
Cut, paste, print, done.
Yeah.
Here it is.
They stole my idea. How far along in Jedi Survivor are you?
I'm still going back between Kobo and Jeddah and the Broken Moon. I haven't gone anywhere else. I haven't gone back to Coruscant, although that is an option now.
In terms of story, and the High Republic guy with the light skin.
So I have Ravis. I've just defeated Ravis permanently, or so I think. And I have not. I've squared off against. Oh my gosh, what's his name?
Darth Vader?
No. One-armed fellow. I've squared off against.
You haven't had your final battle with him yet?
No, I have not.
Then I still can't spoil it. But they did. But it's natural. But they stole some of my role playing stuff.
Oh God, I hate when that happens.
Yeah,
lovingly borrowed, lovingly adapted.
Oh, yeah. It's what I would have done. So when I saw it, I was like,
doesn't that make you feel good though? Like that's how I would have done it.
100%.
Yeah, I'm at the point now where I'm grinding it out. Like I want to find every nook and cranny. So like, I'm at the point now. Like I don't know how many stims does your BD carry?
6 total, I think.
I'm at 8. I'm at 8 stims. I've completely mastered single bladed style. I've completely mastered long saber, and I'm one skill away from mastering the mind trick. No, I mastered mind trick, and now I'm working on not telekinesis. What's the other one? Oh my gosh, the next tree that I'm working on is
the control skills, I think.
Yeah, so I'm at the point now where I've expanded the game enough where I now get all of the lock boxes and all of the collectibles are now appearing on the map.
Yeah.
Without pushing the main story forward.
There's one you'll eventually unlock that it just unlocks the entire map, all collectibles locations.
That's cool.
There's more people listening to us talk to each other about the game than there were watching
the trailer. Well, listen, I was actually thinking, and maybe the audience can chime in on this. I was thinking maybe taking some of the Easter eggs from the live stream tonight and making a short video about that. Maybe 10 things you might have missed in the Ahsoka trailer. Yeah. What do you guys think about that?
Big time.
Oh, maybe I'll do that.
I'd be down. Yeah.
I've got all the slides, so be nothing.
All the content, maybe.
Put it together.
Yep.
Definitely, we'll do something with that Galen Merrick interview because that's. Sorry, the Galen Merrick interview. Well, it is the Galen Merrick interview. It's Sam Witwer. So, yeah. Like I said, that is to me that's the secret sauce. If you're going to do a gentle retconning and Starkiller is the 8th brother, okay,
run with it.
I'm okay with that.
I know there would be an outcry of people going, "Why isn't he just?" Hulk smashing her like she's Loki.
That is the thing, right? It's like now
he is so overpowered in those games.
You have to adhere to the convention of what is in the Star Wars canon. So, will that cause as much, outrage as it does,
Honestly, I'm looking forward to Ahsoka being more powerful than we've seen her in terms of just how Kanan and Ezra were so powerful in. Like the stuff we see Ahsoka do in season 7. I want to see live action stuff. I want to see somebody running along the hull of a Star Destroyer and
seriously
as it's crashing and So
I mean
adding a character like that to the mix.
Throwing her lightsabers and force cutting that circle. That is consistent with stuff that she does in the animation.
Yeah.
She's done that a few times where she's let go of her lightsabers, like literally thrown them away. Drop kick the guy and then and pull them back. Like, okay, I'm invested. I like it. It's going to be hard to go back to doing just straight up regular review style next week. Can we get some more of that Ahsoka trailer stuff? You got any more of that Ahsoka?
There might be some. I don't know if they'll do TV spots.
Sure they will.
International trailer.
Because without the actors pumping the publicity train, the studios are going to probably have to step it up. I feel bad for the actors. I feel bad for Dave as well. I understand their point, and I know that they got to get what they're getting, especially the low-tiered people in the system.
The people.
But I do feel bad. I feel bad for these people that are fans
Yeah.
And this is
yeah.
like Dave Filoni's dream come to life, and I've got to sit here and not tell
and
anybody
can't
about it.
say anything about it. And
Yeah.
like, how do you make up for it after the fact? Of course you will. Celebration will come back, and the strike will end at some point.
Yeah.
And there will be all of those conversations, but they won't have the same impact as they would in
Right on
in
time.
the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just
absolutely.
have to watch. You have to watch the narrative that they're spinning, that the other side is spinning on mainstream news. That's
Yeah.
making you go,
Yeah.
"Oh, these are just rich brats." When
Yep.
it's not about Tom Cruise and Tom Hanks. It's not about any of the Toms.
No,
It's
yeah.
about the people that are making minimum wage and
Right.
that are struggling to be actors.
We all saw
struggling to be writers.
we all saw
extras,
the tweet today from Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah.
And him talking about how they are allowed to do conventions, but the convention organizers need to, and I don't know how to take the man really, because I like his work and I get what he's saying, but at the same time I don't get what he's saying, because it's like he's putting the onus on the fans and the convention goers and convention organizers
to advertise him not connected.
Right. So
here's
it's like,
here's what you should do then. You
and
should
here's
appear in
Vincent
character.
D'Onofrio, a guy who's
You
been
should
in some
appear-
movies and TV you may have seen or heard of.
Yeah.
Then you should appear in character. You should be acting the whole time, so that you're not Vincent D'Onofrio. You're the kingpin
Just
standing
show up
there
as the kingpin,
signing
just-
Wilson
yeah, that's
Fisk
right.
autographs. You know,
And every time someone comes up for an autograph, you smack him with your cane.
the AI thing is super scary. We all went off on AI when they first started having artists do AI.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
bleeding into mainstream without permission, it seems like, or without
Well,
the,
I mean,
the Secret Invasion has saved money
yeah,
by having an AI opening. And I just saw a TED talk recently that's super scary. And I know I lean into the weird a lot, but I saw this TED talk.
That's okay. That's all right. Let it out, man. Let it
We're
out.
talk about that on Tuesday.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Well, just briefly, this AI was like able to essentially
read your thoughts,
use Wi-Fi,
yeah,
and interpret your dreams.
Yeah.
Take an image of a giraffe and show your cerebral cortex. Read the MRI fuzz.
Yeah, yeah.
And it will tell you what you
and
saw.
then
That's right. Yep.
and then print a picture of the giraffe that you saw from that. That's too much for me, man.
I mean, that is going to a whole new level. Of course, there's going to be applications for this stuff that are
legitimate
and altruistic, but that's how all this stuff starts, right? And next thing you know,
some dude's pulling images out of somebody else's head and holding you for ransom.
Exactly.
Well, then we're into that what's that Tom Cruise movie, the Minority Report thing.
Minority Report, and I had made a comment about it sounds an awful lot like Recall from Total Recall. Now we can make
crimes,
your dreams.
Literally thought crimes.
Yeah. I was thinking about
We've
that.
come off the rails.
I was thinking about now. Yeah, we have more people now. We have more audience now than we did half an hour ago. I was thinking about that too. And here's one legitimate thing that I could actually, that I think is going to make a lot of people feel good about that specific technology, is that people who are in a coma that have no means of communication, we might be able to get a glimpse into if there really is any brain activity and are they trying to communicate? Because if
that's the case, what's to stop us from reversing it
and communicating
something
back
in?
Right. So
yeah,
there is that aspect of it. And those are the applications that I think, in the right hands with the right intentions and the right checks and balances are the things that will benefit us as a species. But like
my only fear is that those things tend to be very expensive.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you and I will never be able to
masses.
afford that. Yeah.
Right.
That's right. Well, maybe if we get a few 100 more patrons over on the Patreon, maybe you will be able to
buy our merch.
That's right.
Mastered the mind trick now, so lay it in.
Seriously, the mind.
We'll subscribe to our channel. Buy our merch.
You want to buy a t-shirt?
You really do.
Yeah,
because maybe based on what Hank said earlier, there might be another new one.
Seriously. All right, listen, before we get too far off the rails and get really crazy, let's wind this thing down so we can all get our beauty rest and come back refreshed for Tuesday night as we gather once again to talk about the news of the weird and all of the entertainment headlines that caught our attention over the last week. Man,
there's a lot of
the strike is
everywhere.
It looms. So,
and everybody's got an opinion on it.
Oh, of course.
And that clip from Ron Perlman.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
That
yeah.
one needs some discussion.
He's good
It's
old Ron.
gold.
Because
It's
there's
gold.
and there's a follow-up to it.
Oh yeah,
as
he
well.
put another one out today.
Yep.
Yeah, he's good like that. I've had Ron Perlman on social media for quite a while. He's, if nothing else, he's entertaining. And but yeah, what did you say, Hank? He's becoming his
He's becoming his son's character.
Yeah.
Yeah. He thinks he's a biker
Yeah,
leader.
really.
Yeah, it's great. He's threatening people.
He's
Fantastic.
connected.
He's a little short for a stormtrooper though. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. I've got nothing else. I had a great time tonight. I was so excited to go through the trailer with you guys. I hope you all enjoyed it. Like I said, did we miss anything that you caught that we didn't? Let us know. You can always hit us up in the comments on whatever platform you're watching on. Shoot us an email at fandompower3@gmail.com and you can curse us out or whatever you want to say. Because it's you know, there are just some comments that are just not fit to put on air.
Send comments like that guy. Mhm.
Yeah, that guy. I will not even.
He's even got a Star Wars name, I think.
I want.
Well, I don't know if that's a Star Wars name.
Well,
Maybe
Lars
the other
part.
Star
It
Wars.
suggests he
Yeah,
knows
yeah.
a thing or two.
yeah,
It suggests some deep
It's-
trolling ability.
It's yeah. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I hope you all come back and hang out with us again Tuesday night. If you don't want to come back for Random Fandom, do come back next Sunday night as we continue with our Road to Ahsoka Part 9. Phantom of the Apprentice?
Twilight of the
Twilight.
Apprentice.
That's right. Sorry, it's
Twilight.
Rebels.
Two-parter.
Sorry, not Clone Wars. Rebels. Twilight of the Apprentice Parts 1 and 2.
Mhm.
All right, guys. Any more for any more?
I think that just about does it.
Me.
Alrighty then. For Fandom Power, everybody. My name is Wes,
I'm Andy.
And I'm Hank.
and we will catch you on the next one. And bye for now.
Welcome